Let's jump to this other very contentious social issue.
Ooh, I saw this on Rogan.
Joe Rogan references his 14-year-old daughter and pro-choice in a heated debate about abortion. He said, you're not going to force a 14-year-old who's been raped to carry the rapist's baby. I thought it was interesting because he had on Seth Dillon, and they both made their points. It was well stated on both sides. I think Seth Dillon made some interesting points. Let's read this and we'll talk about it. Joe Rogan clashed with the conservative commentator during a heated debate about abortion. Seth Dillon is a commentator?
Why would I just comment?
I thought he was a satirist.
He's the CEO of the Babylon Bee, but
he does
even bringing up his
but he like does political commentary on Twitter and stuff.
The polarizing podcaster. He's polarizing. He's the most popular. Previously stated he's 100% for a woman's right to choose. Full stop. No Jogan. No Joe Rogan.
No Jogan.
Jogan. That's it. He's Jogan from now on. Wrong. I will bet $100. No, a gentleman's bet. I never like putting money in it. A gentleman's bet, good Sir Joe Rogan, that if I sat down with him and we had a conversation, he would recant that statement.
Oh, for sure.
Outright. So we'll talk about it. So he says, there are women who have been raped who should not have to effing carry some rapist's baby, Rogan exclaimed. There's women who have been assaulted before the age of 14. Dillon, the founder of, he's not the founder of Babylon Bee.
He's the CEO.
He's the CEO.
Adam Ford's the founder of Babylon Bee.
You're wrong, New York Post. Fact check.
Boo.
He said, there are people who have been born of rape and are alive right now and are pro-life. They go around speaking and say, I had a right to live. They will go around making a case, and they were born of rape. So I totally understand what Seth Dillon is saying. I do agree with Joe in this capacity about, for one, a 14-year-old. I think that's not a viable pregnancy. Like, way too young to be able to carry a baby. I mean, that's the age where the doctor is going to make a decision. But I fall on the more libertarian side of the government can't force someone who was already forced to carry a baby in their body. That's a difference, though. And the reason I say Joe Rogan would recant that statement if I talk to him, I guarantee you Joe Rogan is not in favor of abortion at 9 months for elective reasons.
I hate this debate so much, and the reason I hate it is because it's not due to the fact that I don't want to talk about it. It's the fact that abortions because of a rape are exceedingly rare in comparison to what most abortions are.
Right.
It's a way for the left to kind of get away from talking about what abortion actually is, where they just say, "Oh, if a 14-year-old was raped, you would support her carrying a rapist baby," and it's like that is a significantly.
Hold on. It's really, really simple. It's really simple. When the left says that, the response to Joe Rogan is, "You know what, Joe? I'm going to give you that one." So then do you think that all other instances where it's not, would that be okay to ban?
Well, so that's
if you want to talk about banning the 93% of elective abortions with no reason given or whatever, then I agree with you. Okay, rape excluded, women can get abortions if they've been raped, and now you agree to ban 93% of abortions?
Well, so Seth did that. I watched this episode yesterday in full, and Seth did that because they started talking about the case in Nebraska. There was this big case in Nebraska recently that the media lied through their teeth about. There was this mother, and she had a 17-year-old daughter who was 23 weeks pregnant, so 6 months.
This is the Facebook.
Yes. This is a fully formed baby. It's 23 weeks. Nebraska had a 20-week abortion ban. This woman gave her daughter abortion pills, and they stillborned the baby at their house. They then took it and they burned and buried the body.
Yep.
And the police got hold of this because of a tip from somebody, and so they subpoenaed their Facebook DM, or not subpoenaed. They got a search warrant for their Facebook DMs because they had talked about us. Like, the daughter was like, I can't wait to get this effing thing out of me. And they're now being charged with multiple felonies for this. But the media lied about it because they said Facebook turned over DMs to the police. Like, the headlines from so many media outlets were literally Facebook turns over DMs to the police to prosecute teenager for having an abortion, without mentioning the fact that they did this at home for the fully formed baby that they burned and buried in somewhere.
So, absolutely psychotic, and no surprise the media lied. Seth brought that up to Joe?
Yeah, so they started talking about, and Joe was obviously against that. Like, he said, like, that's ridiculous and everything.
And that's the thing, like, when Joe says, he previously said he's 100% for a woman's right to choose, he's not 100% for a woman's right to choose.
No, I think that's out of context, that statement, because it's I don't think that's not something he would say with no pretext. He was probably saying that in reference to something.
Maybe.
I didn't see the show. Do you remember, Greg, when he said that? Did he come off as saying?
No, he did say. He says,
well, no, he said he's like in favor.
No, fair
like
point. He said, "quote It gets weird when the baby gets like 6 months old. I know that some states have late-term abortions, and sometimes you need one for medical reasons, right? The woman could die if she gives birth. Like, it's a decision that people have to make. I am 100% for a woman's right to choose, but as a human being, just a person observing things, there's a big difference between a little clump of cells and a fetus with the eyeball and the beating heart.
Funny
and
how
for
they phrase
anybody
it.
to pretend there's not.
Okay,
so actually,
I'm 100%
there's a beating heart.
Apologies, Joe.
But they
agrees
cut
with
out
me.
the but part of it. Nice job, Newsweek. You screwed that one up.
He says, where do you
Who
draw,
wrote this?
his guess is, where do you draw the line? He says, right, where do you draw the line? That's the question. It's what I call a human issue. It's a very complicated issue. It's so fraught with emotion and so political.
But that question is something the left cannot answer. They cannot answer where they draw the line.
They don't.
And that's why
they don't. That's
and
why that bill in Congress,
so that's why they constantly bring up things like, would you let that 10-year-old carry her rapist, like the story we saw in Ohio of the 10-year-old who got raped by an illegal
I called that a
and-
media
by her
hoax.
mother's boyfriend.
Yeah, so it ended up not being
Illegal
a hoax.
immigrant, right?
It ended up
I
not being a
believe
hoax.
so,
It ended
yeah.
up not being a hoax that a 10-year-old child was impregnated by rape, but it ended up being the fact that it was her mother's boyfriend who was an illegal immigrant.
No, it was a hoax. So
Well-
the reason I say that is because obviously it did happen. Obviously there was a pregnancy. Obviously there was a crime committed. But when you look at the statements from the local government, it was in Ohio, right?
Yeah, and
they said
under
she could have gotten the treatment.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
But they did not do it. They went somewhere else instead.
And
so
that's
what I'm
what
saying
yeah.
is it is a hoax in the sense that they drummed up a big political story for political play without the full context.
Exactly.
What about
yeah.
the
Media Matters
16-year-old
got
girl
very mad at
in
me for that.
Florida? What about the 16-year-old girl in Florida who's an orphan? She has no parents. She's pregnant. She's 10 weeks pregnant.
Oh yeah, we have that story actually. The
Yeah.
judge ruled she's not mature enough to have an abortion.
The judge ruled that she's not mature enough to have an abortion, that she's not allowed to make the decision for herself. She is within the timeline where an abortion would be permissible under Florida law.
Really? And they're not allowing it.
And they're not allowing it because a parent or guardian would have to make that decision. She doesn't have any of that.
Well, then she's the
Then
guardian.
she's the guardian, but she's not the legal guardian. The state is the legal guardian of this
Oh,
girl, right?
that's
No
enough.
way.
I think this is crazy.
No
I think this is
state.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, she's within the legal limits of the law, right?
Well, this is
And
tough.
they're not allowing
Seth
her
Dillon
to do
says
it.
It's human life should not be taken.
Yeah, I do think that there should be exceptions for rape and incest for sure, and I do think that there should be limits.
But this isn't rape, is it?
This whole like
No, this case is not rape, but I do think that there should be, I don't think 9 months, obviously, and I do think that it should be very tight to near conception.
Well, so this 16-year-old,
And I don't think anyone should do it, but like I also think there should be.
Is this 16?
limits.
Was the 16-year-old? It wasn't statutory rape or anything like that. It was like
No, she was with a fella, and she said he's not capable of helping out. He's not going to be a dad. He's like not around.
Then what's the justification for why she should be able to get an abortion? Is 16
It's
old
within
enough?
the laws of the
Oh,
state of
Florida's-
Florida.
Oh, for an elective.
Florida
Yeah.
has a 15-week abortion.
That's right.
ban
So
on the
she's
books.
under the time limit.
Wow, that's crazy.
yeah, I don't like
Like,
it, man.
The way I see it is like if a woman feels the need to terminate a pregnancy, like she's been let down by society, let down by her family.
Not
let down-
entirely.
Well,
Culture.
that's what I see. Like I see
Cultural
I see it as a problem when a woman feels like there is no way out.
There's something
besides
that nobody talks about, right? There's something that nobody talks about that I've experienced among my friend group over the past, however old I am. And that Joe Biden has certainly picked up on. They have a new plan to promote their abortion message by targeting men and telling men like, hey, be pro-abortion, right? I have known so many women, married, unmarried, with a guy who have been coerced into getting an abortion. I knew one woman who her husband just didn't want to have kids and was like, if you don't abort this baby, I'm going to leave you. That happened over and over in that marriage. I have another friend, it was before she got married.
Wait. All she has to do is say, no, if I have it, you can't leave.
Sure. There's always the thing you can say, right? There's
Well, I mean,
always
the issue is
there's always the other thing that you can come up with.
when a woman gets pregnant, she has legal control in courts
I
over
understand.
men's finances.
She
and-
felt very coerced and forced into getting this abortion. That's what ended up happening. Whether you think she should have felt that way or not, that's how she felt. And I've known that to happen to many other women, where the reason they get the abortion is either to keep the man or, to do what they're told or to not get beat or whatever it is. Men do coerce women into getting abortions. That happens. And we have to deal with that as well. It's not just the woman being like, well, I think I want to do this today. Men are culpable in this as well.
And nobody talks about like the depression and other like, things like that can happen to women after they have an abortion. And like, it's disgusting. And that's disgusting that it happens. But this is something that the Biden administration has said out loud. Like Kamala Harris did like a roundtable with a bunch of abortion activists. And she was talking about like, what are you going to tell are you going to tell your son that if they get a girl pregnant, that like she was saying, this could affect you because your son is now having a baby. And it's like, okay, so we're going to teach men that they're not responsible for their actions.
I had the same exact thought with that. And I've actually had the conversation with my son who's 12. I've been like, listen, if something happens and, God forbid this happens and someone gets pregnant, mommy is here. I have a stable home. Mommy is here. I'll be happy to be the grandma. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous because he's 12.
I
just want to put that out there.
Plant the seed.
Like we're just a culture that doesn't value life or personal responsibility that comes with it. And I think that needs to change. That's the biggest thing.
Look, our culture is decaying and collapsing. I think cultural enforcement is everything. The laws are meaningless when your culture won't uphold the law. So everything we're talking about is really just rooted in like American values and culture has just eroded to the point where you have one faction, which is mostly the Democrat voters, the anti-Trump people, with no moral framework whatsoever. And then you have the traditional American moral framework.
Well, the Democrats have become so insane when it comes to abortion. Like they're literally nuts. Like they tried to pass a bill. Well, they did pass a bill in the House that would have nullified every state pro-life law across America, and it would have allowed for abortion at any time for any reason at all. And I think the median American voter does not support that by polling data. Like the median voter in America supports abortion within a few certain weeks. But Democrats have become so nuts on this issue that they've made it like they think the overturning of Roe v. Wade was going to be their saving grace in this midterm. And I don't think that because the American people are not as insane on abortion as the institution. And like abortion for no limits, for no reason at all, repealing the Hyde Amendment, taxpayer funded.
Right, that's a mess.
That is in the Democrat Party platform.
Is. I mean, the thing is, the Democrats want us to kill our babies, and they want us to sterilize our children.
Well, they're sterilizing their children, and they're getting abortions, so the future will be Christian conservative.
That's always worked out well in the past.
But
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying that's the reality of one political group removing their children's ability to reproduce, and then literally removing their children.
They're trying to remove our children's ability to reproduce.
Arizona just passed school choice, right? That was a big thing Corey DeAngelis was tweeting about. So if conservatives win on this front, it's the end of the leftist ideology. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.